Imagine a hillside overlooking the Sea of Galilee, where a massive crowd, over 5,000 men, plus women and children, had gathered to hear Jesus speak. They had followed him for hours, captivated by his words of love, hope, and the kingdom of God. But as the sun began to set, a practical problem arose. The people were hungry, and there was no food to be found in the remote area. The disciples grew anxious. "This is a desolate place," they said. "Send the people away so they can buy food for themselves." But Jesus, calm and compassionate as always, had a different response. He looked at his disciples and said, "You give them something to eat." The disciples were baffled. "We have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fish," they replied, holding up the modest meal brought by a young boy in the crowd. It was a kind gesture from the boy, but surely not enough to feed thousands. Yet, Jesus saw abundance where others saw scarcity. He instructed the crowd to sit down on the grass, and then he took the loaves and fish, lifted his eyes to heaven, and gave thanks to God. He broke the bread and handed it to his disciples, who began distributing it to the crowd. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. The food multiplied in their hands, and everyone ate until they were satisfied. Even more astonishing, when the meal was over, the disciples collected 12 baskets of leftovers, far more than what they had started with. This moment wasn't just about feeding hungry stomachs, it was a lesson in faith, gratitude, and generosity. Jesus showed that God can do extraordinary things with even the smallest offerings when they are given with a trusting heart. The young boy didn't have much, but he gave what he had. His simple act of sharing became the seed for a miracle. And through Jesus, the disciples learned that the abundance of God is not limited by human resources, it flows from faith, thanksgiving, and the willingness to serve others. How often do we, like the disciples, focus on what we lack instead of trusting God with what we have? Whether it's our time, talents, or resources, Jesus reminds us that no gift is too small when placed in God's hands. So the next time you feel inadequate or think you don't have enough to make a difference, remember this: the same God who multiplied the loaves and fishes can multiply your efforts. All he asks is for you to give what you can and trust him with the rest. And they all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 baskets full of broken pieces that were left over. Matthew 14 verse 20. What can you offer today, no matter how small, that could be the start of something miraculous?